New year. Looks like we have 21 folks on so far. We have our commissioners going. We're a little bit behind. So what I want to do is I want to call this meeting to order at 6:49. My name is Gordon Fletcher. I'm honored to serve as the chair of ANC 5A. Well, actually, chair last year. We have to conduct elections. And so after quorum, that's going to be the first business to handle. So now, Commissioner Lucio, I want to turn the floor over to you. Not because you are currently our recording secretary, but because you have had that role last year. So I would just ask you to establish quorum at this time.
Thank you, Chairman Fletcher. Sorry, give me 1 minute. I'm trying to multitask. Okay. Okay. All right. Commissioner 5A for 5A01, DeValier Malone. Not here. Commissioner for 5A02, Carl Scozer.
Present.
Commissioner 5A03, Emily Singer Lucio, present. Commissioner 5A04, Diego Rojas.
Present.
Commissioner for 5A05, Tyrone Boston.
Present. Present.
5A06 is vacant. 5A07 is vacant. 5A08, Commissioner Gordon Fletcher.
Present.
5A09, Commissioner Bacum.
Here.
Okay, Chairman Fletcher, we have a quorum.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Commissioner Lucio. Okay, so next business to handle is officer elections. And typically, for those that may be new to the ANC, we have our Ward 5 council member who would typically conduct the election. He is at another event this evening. So we have the next best thing, which some would say even better. We have our executive director for OANC, Kent Bowes, if I'm saying that your last name correctly. He's going to conduct the elections. And so I want to turn the floor over to our executive director at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner. Hopefully you can hear me in full throat.
We can't hear you. It's too soft.
Yeah, we can't hear you too well.
Okay. How about now?
It's a little better.
Very faint.
There's always a million settings. Let's see. Does that any better?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay.
There you go. Like if column A doesn't work, you go to column B, column C, and column D. There you go. Okay, so anyway, thank you for inviting me tonight. It's a pleasure to be here and see all of you. I will try to make this as seamless as possible, but I also want to be quite clear. I do think that I am a poor substitution for Councilmember Parker. Let's just be clear about that. In reading through your bylaws, I just want to make sure that I have all of the positions correctly. I'm seeing that there's a chairperson, vice chairperson, secretary, treasurer, and parliamentarian. Are those all the positions, or is there another one?
Recording secretary.
Okay, and recording secretary. So there's secretary and recording secretary.
Well, secretary, there's one in this.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure that I got those right.
So my mistake. If you said secretary initially, then I have a 14-month-old baby that I'm still sometimes hearing in the background. So sorry if I didn't hear that part.
No worries, Commissioner. I think we all have things going on in our lives that make us a little sleep deprived.
Thank you.
All right. So in looking over those positions, again, as I understand it, each candidate for office shall be nominated from the floor. The candidate may nominate themselves, but may not second the nomination. A nomination speech of no more than 2 minutes is provided for by the bylaws. Each nomination must be seconded. And once nominations are closed, the candidate may also speak for up to 2 minutes, and each of those positions have to be elected in series. So if my understanding of your bylaws are correct, I will start by opening up nominations for the position of chair.
I nominate
Gordon
Chairman
Fletcher.
Fletcher. Oh, there we go. I'll second that nomination.
There we
Okay,
go.
so there's a nomination for Commissioner Fletcher. It's been seconded. Are there, Commissioner Fletcher, I will always ask, do you accept the nomination?
I humbly accept the nomination.
Okay, perfect. Is
Martha,
there any desire to speak on that nomination?
Not at this time. Just want to continue moving.
Okay. Then before we move forward, are there any other nominations for the position of chair? Hearing none, Commissioner Fletcher as the only nomination for the position of chair, by acclamation, you will be chair for 2024. So congratulations, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Moving on to vice chair. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
Yes, I will nominate Commissioner Emily Lucio.
I'll second that nomination.
Moved and seconded,
I'll accept the nomination.
and Commissioner Lucio accepts the nomination. Are there any other nominations for the position of vice chair? Hearing none, congratulations, Commissioner Lucio. You will be vice chair in 2024. Moving on, are there any nominations for the position of secretary?
I nominate Commissioner Diego Rojas.
I'll second that nomination.
Okay.
I'll gladly accept that nomination.
Okay, been properly moved, seconded, and accepted. Thank you all. Are there any other nominations for the position of secretary? Hearing none, congratulations, Commissioner Rojas. You are the secretary for 2024.
Thank you.
Now for the all eyes on the position of treasurer, kind of the linchpin of the whole organization. Are there any nominations for the position of treasurer?
I nominate myself.
Okay, Commissioner Bokum has nominated herself. Is there a second?
I'll second that nomination.
Thank you, Commissioner Boston. Commissioner Bokum, I will not ask if you accept your nomination since it was a self-nomination. Are there any other nominations for the position of treasurer? Hearing none, congratulations, Commissioner Bokum. You are the treasurer for 2024. And completing the slate, are there any nominations for the position of parliamentarian?
I nominate Commissioner Cozart.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
I'll
Second.
second that nomination.
Excellent. And Commissioner Cozart, do you accept?
I accept.
Excellent. Are there any other nominations for the position of parliamentarian? Hearing none, congratulations, Commissioner Cozart. You will serve as parliamentarian for 2024. With that, the outcome of the elections are the chair will be Commissioner Fletcher, the vice chair, Commissioner Lucio, secretary, Commissioner Rojas, treasurer, Commissioner Bokum, parliamentarian, Commissioner Cozart. And Commissioner Fletcher, if I recall, your commission does swear in the newly elected officers, correct?
Yes, correct.
They're very good. Then what I will ask the newly elected officers to do is if you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Shayla.
I, Diego Rojas,
Having been elected an officer of ANC 5A
having been
Having
elected
been
an
elected
officer
an
of
officer
the
of
ANC
the
by
ANC
will perform my duties. Well,
will perform my duties
my duties
perform my
assigned.
duties.
Oh,
Sorry, I muddled that. Will perform the duties assigned to me
will perform the duties
assigned
assigned to me
as an officer,
as an officer,
Sir,
and I will faithfully discharge said duties.
and I will
faithfully discharge said duties.
Thank you, commissioners. Congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Executive Director Base. Thank you very much. You're more than welcome to stay, but you understand you're around ANCs all day and night, so we understand if you want to spend some time doing something else. But thank you very much for this. We really appreciate it.
The honor was mine.
Okay. All right, commissioners, all right, every resident. So now that we've taken care of that business, I want to continue moving along. Next on the agenda is a review and acceptance of the minute of the agenda. I would like to make one addition. I do not see Washington Yu Ying update on the agenda, so I wanted to add that to the agenda. I believe we have a representative from Washington Yu Ying here. So that's my one addition. Are there any other additions or amendments to the agenda before us this evening? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I have one. 132 Euro Place. They are not ready, so I ask that we take that off of the agenda.
Duly noted. Duly noted. I don't think anyone's gonna question that. So with that being said, thank you, Commissioner Boston. Are there any other amendments, additions to the agenda before us?
I have a couple of sub-points for the treasurer report. I don't know if it needs to be spelled out or,
No, Commissioner Bukum, you could just discuss all of that under your treasurer report.
okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you. Fair questions, fair statements. Any others? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to accept the agenda with the noted changes.
Chairman Fletcher, I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as presented with the two changes.
Okay,
Seconded.
wonderful. Commissioner Lucio has made a motion to accept the agenda with the noted changes. That motion has been seconded by Commissioner Bukum. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, ayes have it. The agenda has been accepted and approved for this evening. Next up, under commission business, Commissioner Bukum, I would like to turn the floor over to you.
Chairman Fletcher,
Yes.
we just need to address the fact that there are no minutes to report since it's on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for that. So I want to make note, our November meeting, we are still compiling the minutes from our November meeting. So we just need one more month. We will present the November minutes to you at our February meeting. So just want to make note of that. The holiday seasons and things of that nature create a little bit of backlog, but don't worry. Next month, we will have both minutes for your review and acceptance. And any questions about that? Okay, so seeing none, now we'll go down to Commissioner Bukum, the treasurer's report. You have the floor.
Thank you. I wasn't sure. Am I supposed to if I do this, it's a mirror, it's backwards, right?
Correct.
So I should share my screen, right?
Yes, share your screen. Yes, please. Thank
Okay,
you.
let me see if I can find that. I'm sorry.
And maybe Commissioner Lucy has to give you co-host capabilities to do that.
I do.
Okay. I'm trying to find it too.
You'll get a notice in a second.
Okay. Okay. Okay, can you see that quarterly report? quarterly financial report for FY 24 quarter one. Can everyone see that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so this represents the period from October 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. So that's the amount of money we had in there. We got our allotment. We spent some money on a post office box and website services and bank fees.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Bookham, you will need to say out loud the numbers.
Amounts, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so starting off in October 1st, we had $63,880.49. We received $5,616.57. So those two add up to $69,497.06. And as far as disbursements, we had $728.62, which reflected two items, post office box and website services. And then we had $5 a month of bank fees, which was $15. So the total disbursements was $743.62. So that meant that our ending balance as of 12/31/23 was $68,753.44.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Bukum. Commissioners, are there any questions for Commissioner Bukum?
I do not. Chairman Fletcher, I make a motion that we accept the quarterly financial report for fiscal year 24 quarter one as presented.
Okay, Commissioner Lucy has made a motion to accept the ANC 5A quarterly financial report for FY 24 Q1. Do we have a second?
Yes,
Also-
I'll second it.
Okay, I'll go with Commissioner Boston for this one. Commissioner Boston has duly seconded the motion. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. The report has been approved. Thank you very much, Commissioner Bukum.
Okay, and there's two other things that we want to propose. I'm not looking at the agenda right now. Let's see.
And Commissioner Bukum, just so you know, you could unshare your screen now since
Oh.
we're done with this. Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Commissioner Bookham, the thing that you've not done yet that's on the agenda is the security fund.
Okay, thanks. Okay, yes, so I propose that we allocate $50, which is a required fee for ANC security fee.
Commissioners, you've heard the statements by Commissioner Bukum. So Commissioner Bukum, is that your motion? Are you making a motion?
Yeah, I move that we allocate, that I write a check for $50 for the ANC security fee.
Okay, so Commissioner Bukum has made a motion to pay the security fund for ANC 5A of $50. Do we have a second?
I'll make a second.
Okay, Commissioner Lucio has seconded that motion. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it.
And there's one other thing, which is, I don't know if it's the right place to discuss it, but we had talked about potentially hiring someone to help with admin duties. I wanted to see if we wanted to change our budget.
Let's have that for the February meeting.
Okay.
And we could discuss it at our public executive body meeting in February, and then we could bring it for a vote at our February committee of the whole meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners?
Looks like Office of ANC has their hand raised, or no, sorry, no, not from commissioners, sorry.
Right, okay. So Commissioner Bukum, Mr. Ken Ford, I see you here. I'm gonna acknowledge you in a second. Commissioner Bukum, anything else from you at this time?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, awesome. Great job, Commissioner Bukum. Great way
Thank
to
you.
start the semester. Oh, God, I was teaching last night. Great way to start the year off.
Thank you.
So I want to give the floor to Ken Ford because he has his hand raised. But right after that, I do want to recognize that we have Captain Chapman on the line with us. And so I know he's very busy. keeping us safe. So I want to give him the floor right after I see Ken. You have the floor, sir.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Good evening to everybody.
Good evening.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I was instructed to join to attend an ANC meeting. I'm a transfer student from Ole Miss University. I've relocated here from Mississippi. I've been here about I want to say about 3 months, October the 18th. So I just relocated here. I'm taking about 5 classes at UDC to transfer to Georgetown next semester.
Wonderful.
And I didn't mean to disturb or intrude or impose on the meeting. I just hurry up and threw my hands up because I really want to get into like politics. I'm taking DC politics and political ideologies at UDC, just 2 classes that are equivalent to Georgetown. And so when you said that you were potentially hiring for someone to help with administrative duties, I just raised my hand and wanted to just throw in a word to let you know that you did have a kind of hardline student, want to kind of get involved. So
I like that. I like that. Good stuff. Good stuff, Ken. Way to take the initiative. What I'll do is during the course of this meeting, I'll send you a private chat with my email address.
yes, sir.
And that way we can start a conversation. And
Yeah, because I was just about to ask. I didn't even know if I'm in the correct ward or the teacher just instructed-
well, where are you? Are you taking classes at Bertie Backus or UDC main campus?
Well, I have 5 classes, a total of 15 credits. I'm taking DC politics and
Well, let me ask you this: where you know what? Hold on, Ken, because this is going
I
to get
got you. I didn't want to prolong
conversation.
the meeting. I'm sorry.
But
Yes, sir.
again, we appreciate the initiative. We are a very tight-knit community. We like to keep our community safe. You're going to hear some things tonight. And at the end, like I said, I'm going to send you my contact information and we'll have a conversation offline and see what we can work out.
Yes, sir.
All
Sorry
right.
to bother.
No, not a bother. I want you to know it's not a
I'm
bother.
glad to meet everyone. I'm just taking notes and I have to write an analysis on my first ANC meeting. So thank
There
you
you
for
go.
the opportunity.
Absolutely. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. So with that being said, I want to, before I give the floor to Captain Chapman, I want to say a couple words here. We live in a very special, tight-knit, family-friendly, intergenerational community. And, the crime that's been plaguing our city, we've done our best to keep it from coming to our community as much as possible. However, I know recently within my single-member district, there have been 2 shootings, one fatal. A young man lost his life just walking down the street with friends, I believe, at 10 o'clock at night, had nothing to give and still lost his life. That's really, really scary. I just want to make us understand what happened, right? And, I received numerous phone calls, text messages, emails, and all of the above. I took it seriously, not just because of my role as a commissioner, but I'm a neighbor, I'm a husband, I'm a father, hats that many of you all wear and many more. So this is something that affects all of us, right? I take this very serious. So as soon as I found out what was going on, I reached out to Anthony Black from the mayor's office, who's our direct line. And I also reached out to Carlos McKnight, who Councilman Parker stated he wanted me to go through when we want to contact MPD as much as possible. So I tried my best to follow the chain of command from our leaders. So that's what I did. I reached out to Anthony. I reached out to Carlos. I had it, thankfully enough, I had a single member district meeting that was planned for Monday. And so, timing is sometimes everything. And so Carlos was there. The community members from my single member district was there. Anthony Black was there. And we had a conversation and I demanded from Carlos that we get Captain Chapman at our ANC meeting tonight to figure out what's going on and also to let Captain Chapman and Carlos, by way of Councilman Parker, know some things that we want to see happen to increase safety within ANC 5A. So I just want to put that out there because this is a serious thing. When folk at nighttime, when I get out my car, my head's on a swivel. Every car that drives by me, I'm looking at them. I'm not turning my back to them because I don't know if the same thing that happened to that young man at 10 o'clock at night could happen to me, my daughter, my wife, my neighbors, anybody. So we have to stay vigilant. We have to. So with that being said, I want to give the floor to Captain Chapman to speak to what happened, any information that he could provide the community, and also to give the community an opportunity to ask Captain Chapman himself whatever questions you may have around safety. So with that being said, Captain Chapman, thank you very much, sir, for being here. I want to give you the floor now to provide updates around what happened most recently within our ANC. Thank you.
All right. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm wearing a couple of hats this evening, so I am the watch commander. So apologize for the radio transmissions that are going to be going on in the background, but needing to monitor that so that I'm able to dispatch our units around to places that they need to go. In reference to this, the homicide that you just spoke of, first of all, I'd just like to say, as a parent, as a citizen, I've seen a video associated with it. It was one of the most despicable things that I've seen. It was sickening to my stomach to see it. And like I said, as a parent, you can only put yourself in that position and just, think what the next parent would be going through if shit that happened. That particular situation, like you mentioned before, the young man was walking down the street with two additional friends when a vehicle pulled up alongside them. The rear occupant of the vehicle hopped out of the vehicle, produced a handgun, and went to the victim. And one of the members that was walking with him initially, he actually ran. And so it was just the victim and one of the additional one of his friends. So from listening to the Ring camera, we're able to hear some of the conversation between the two, and you can obviously tell it's a robbery. And the victim at some point tells or you can hear, I guess, the suspect asking the victim, pretty much, I think he was robbing him for his cell phone, and he wanted the passcode to the cell phone. Excuse me. And so at some point, the victim is like, all right, I'll give it to you. Which it appears he does. The suspect then turns and walks back to the vehicle, and just for no apparent reason, I couldn't hear anything additional, if anything additional was said, but it appeared for no apparent reason and just turned around and shot twice. And so, just any robbery, if you were to ever come to
Captain Chapman, my apologies, sir. Only reason I'm interrupting is because, just so you know, you're horizontal. Okay.
My camera's inverted.
Vertical rather than horizontal. Right.
Okay, let me see if I can tell you what. I'm just going to cut. I'm going to use my picture here, but
Okay.
yeah. So in any case, just to let you know, if you were to speak to anyone here at the district, any of the officers that I command, they will tell you I have a infinity towards I just despise robbers, to be honest with you. Anyone that preys on anybody weaker than them, and or either puts them, it's pretty much like a bully mentality to me, and I despise that. And so we work very diligently to try and to prevent the robberies. The bad part, or the issue, or the hard thing that goes on for us right now is that there's no one set pattern. Like, if it was, just using this for example, if we were having multiple robberies on South Dakota Avenue, then I would know to, take my units and I'm gonna surround South Dakota Avenue, and I'll make sure that that we either deter it, or if something happens, we're going to apprehend them right away. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It's just such a crime of opportunity, and you have these individuals, and they appear in most instances to be very young, driving around in stolen vehicles and just catching people at inopportune times. one of the things that Officer Hamrick and I and other members of our outreach we do is, and we've spoken to a number of ANC commissions, groups, and citizens, and all we can do is try and one, we try to react as quickly as possible, of course, but just also trying to give tips and educate members on how to keep themselves safe and to not be victimized. And that comes from just doing some small things sometimes. One of the things we notice is like a lot of the victims, they get caught, they're walking with headsets in their ears, they have earphones in their ears, and they're looking at their phones. So the suspects that they're targeting them because they know they're not paying attention. They're pulling up, people are pulling up and sitting in their cars for extended periods of time. And you have these people riding around randomly hunting. And so if they see someone sitting in a vehicle for extended period of time, they're like, oh, well, got one. And they'll pull up beside that person, get out and, and rob that person in or carjack the person. So, we're trying to encourage citizens, as crazy as it sounds like, to not, that you can't do these things, but that's the realization of things that, that's just what the reality of is. We, sitting around in your cars for long periods of time, whether it be, before you leave or when you get home, it's just not advised. Pull up, check your surroundings, get out of the vehicle, get into the house where it's safe. And then, likewise, when you come out of your door, if you have a Ring or video cameras, look at your cameras. Look, a lot of times with the cameras, you'll be able to see a little bit broader than to say looking through a peephole or a window. But if you can look up and down the street, if you see a vehicle that doesn't look familiar to you and it looks like it's occupied, give us a call. And my officers know that when we get these suspicious vehicle calls or someone that looks suspicious in the block calls, we're getting out to them because sometimes those things have legs. And so we want to make sure that we're following up on each one of those opportunities. So I'm open to any questions, any other questions that you may have.
Absolutely. Captain Chapman, thank you very much for that sad and unfortunate explanation. Commissioner Bukum, I see you have your hand raised. I want to recognize commissioners first. I see Commissioner Bukum, Commissioner Lucio. Any other commissioners have their hand raised? Okay, then I see you,
Commissioner Rojas.
Oh, Commissioner Rojas. Okay. All right, so we'll start with commissioners. And everyone else, please keep your hand raised so I can make sure I call on everyone. All right, Commissioner Bukum, you first.
Hi, thank you, Captain Chapman. Thank you for being here. I was just wondering, do you actually have footage of what happened from like a Ring camera or something like that?
Yes, there was video footage. So in situations like this, once if a person is gravely injured, where they succumb from their injuries, or there's the prognosis is very poor, homicide takes over those investigations, and so they would be the person that would the entity that would have access to that video. I don't know how readily available that video is. I don't know if they're, if they're willing to release it at this time, because sometimes those things are used, of course, used for evidence, evidential area purposes. But I can try and find out for you.
I just wondered if, if it was clear enough to identify the.
So the thing about it is it's actually it's at night, but it's a pretty clear video. But the individual is wearing a hoodie as well as a ski mask.
Mm. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, next, Commissioner Lucio.
Thank you, Chairman Fletcher. Thank you for joining us, Officer Chapman. We appreciate you being here. I wanted to share that for the last couple of years, we have been requesting through your office and with the assistance of Councilmember Parker's office to reestablish the substation that was on this side of town on South Dakota Avenue. It was previously located at the McDonald's. And we have been told, and I understand that the budgets are tight on the police department. I also understand that you know, that there have to be priorities in terms of those things, and that there's also a shortage of officers. But having said that, we've been saying for years that, you know, the 4th district is a very interesting district, and there is a significant amount of crime that happens over towards the Georgia Avenue area, which is where the MPD station is located. And for whatever reason, our area, PSA 405, sometimes seems like the stepchild of the 4th district. And many of our residents feel as though we don't get the police coverage and the police attention that we deserve. Now, whether that has to be because of budget cuts or staffing shortages, I don't know. But I think the solution, or part of the solution, would be to bring back the substation on this side of town. And I would really like to encourage you all to consider doing that again, because I think it would be extremely helpful to have something located specifically in that area, because there's been a number of crimes that have happened on that section of South Dakota, not to mention other areas as well. And so I'm just asking that you very kindly consider bringing at a minimum more police presence to this area, both by car and on foot, and then also consider a substation. And I want to add one other thing real quick. And one of the complaints many neighbors have had, particularly in my single member district, is that when your officers drive through the neighborhood, they don't slow down, they don't stop and talk and engage with the neighbors. They basically drive through at high speeds, not like a high speed chase, but, you know, just a regular speed without even sort of stopping to look and get a sense of the surroundings. And I think the residents in this area would greatly appreciate it if they would spend more time just stopping, talking to residents, and being around and engaged with the community. Because there's clearly a need for more police presence in this area, given the recent rash of crime. So thank you very much for attending today.
Yes, ma'am. So just to touch on a couple of things that you spoke on. So the substation, one of the issues in it, and kind of this kind of I guess affects a couple of things that we've spoken on. We all know that we have a severe shortage of officers right now. And so the times that you see the officers and they may be driving through, 9 times out of 10, they're probably driving through en route to a particular call, which is why they may be not so, I guess, stopping in or either, excuse me, communicating with the citizens. We do, of course, encourage officers to get out and speak with the citizens. I think it's important because it gives us an opportunity to to establish those relationships and within the community, and it helps us from the perspective of that community member now knows Officer or Captain Chapman, and if I have something going on, I can call Captain Chapman because I know Captain Chapman personally. Likewise, you're more, you're able to, if something goes on and you have a question about something, or if you see something, you can also relay information to Captain Chapman, and that, so that that information flow is definitely a much better situation. When it comes to the substation or the possibility of substation, to be 100% honest with you, it is, again, a couple of things that factor into that: budget, manpower, and to be quite honest with you, I don't know if I want another place that officers can go in and just sit inside of. You know what I mean? I'd much, especially with the number of officers that we have, I'd rather them to be out on the street. I'm encouraging them that if they have a report to complete, that they complete that report outside on the street, inside of cars, because we have computers in cars. So the substation, in my opinion, could give them an opportunity to go somewhere and to do a report, and then therefore they're not out on the street, at bare minimum being vigilant or being visible, that they could possibly deter something. So that's my take on the substation part of it.
Okay, thank you, Captain Chapman. Thank you, Commissioner Lucio. Next, the chair recognizes Commissioner Rojas.
Thanks, Officer Chapman. One of the main things that I wanted to talk about, similar to the situation that happened, the horrible crime this week. Over the summer, there was an incident at Catholic University where somebody was an altercation, maybe a robbery. I don't think we know specifics yet, but happened right at the Metro. And, the 25-year-old man was shot and killed. And you know, a high school teacher here on a visitation in DC. You know, another tragic situation and kind of the same story. And you know, really, you know, voiced a lot of concern over the summer with the university on their campus police. And you know, I personally think the lack of force that it's shown, that there's very few officers that are armed at all. I think at the time there were 9. And so there's really not much to deter crime. You know, there was maybe one officer that would patrol, DPS officer that would patrol around at campus police. And then, you know, when it comes to, I know you guys are thin on staff and things of that nature, but what are you guys doing as far as, you know, specifically within Catholic University that's within our ANC, but also universities throughout DC? Because I know there was a similar situation at Howard University as well over the summer. What are you doing to work with different campus police organizations to help better equip the campus officers and then also add more presence? Because I think universities are just a prime example of another horrible crime waiting to happen, of students walking around, going from class to class, going to their apartments off campus, and just in a bad situation, a place to get potentially robbed or some altercation, and you know, God forbid, another horrible crime.
Yes. So I'll touch on that briefly. Officer Hamrick is also on the line, and Officer Hamrick is our community outreach officer, or one of them, and he's been very instrumental in partnering and forming relationships with both the university campus police that are in our area, as well as the hospital police that are in our area. So when it comes to campus life, most universities don't want outside agencies, and MPD being an outside agency operating within the campus confines. So that's been the way it's been across the board. And that's probably not just here in the city. It's probably you know, pretty much nationwide. Most universities, they prefer to deal with situations that go on the university's campus using their own police force. Now, for the areas outside of the campus, of course, you know, that again is areas that we patrol. But again, it goes back to what I initially mentioned, is just educating students, you know, to keep themselves safe. You know, it's just like with anything that goes on. You know, you have to learn to adapt to situations, and unfortunately, in this particular time frame, we have to deal with youth running around robbing people, and so we have to just kind of conform ourselves to trying to do everything that we can from a personal perspective to keep ourselves safe. And then from a law enforcement perspective, we're trying our best to step our tactics up to meet you halfway in that regards. I really, and it's my personal take on it, there has to be more accountability for some of these juvenile crimes, because things happen and they're out before the paperwork, the ink dries on the paperwork, they're back out. And in some cases, we're arresting them a week later, you know, days later. So, and that's just the nature of things. And I understand that from a perspective of it being juveniles, and, you know, we don't want to just lock them away, and, you know, we want to be able to try to rehabilitate them. But again, when you have some of these bad actors, they have to do something to hold them accountable for it. If not, there's no incentive for them to stop. So, and I'll let Officer Hamrick speak on the other relationships that we're forming with or partnerships that we're forming with the universities.
Thank you, Captain Chapman. I'm doing my best not to say anything. We have one more commissioner. Commissioner Boston, you have the floor.
Good evening. Thank you, Officer Chapman, for joining us. You just touched a little bit on one of my questions about the consequences for the juveniles in the car theft and robbery. So you touched on that. Thank you for that. I have another question about the EdTech program that you guys did. Do you guys plan on doing that again in the other wards that weren't selected the first when you guys did them recently?
I'm gonna defer that question to Officer Hamrick. He's been kind of spearheading our air tag and or either our camera programs here in the fourth district.
Yeah, thank you, Captain Chaplain. Good night, family. How's everybody doing? In reference to the AirTag situation, what it is a pilot program, and what we started doing is utilizing, or SOD started utilizing the pilot program in the more intensive districts where we were suffering from a higher percentage of robberies and carjackings. And though that matrix of information and stats on how well that pilot program has gone is not completed yet. So once they get all that information back, I'm sure they'll make it a citywide movement if they find that this is something that fits all of the levels as far as cost and closures in these types of crimes, if that makes sense to everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Also, just a quick note, I'm sorry, Commissioner, but if I can add to the relationships with our universities and schools in the area, I just want to bring abreast to everybody, keep abreast that we brought a lot of our SROs out of our schools, our high schools and elementary schools. And in that faction, you have to realize that there's a lot of parents that have kids that are in these schools that have different beliefs and different positions on how the police affects their children's education. Not to mention, when we're getting into a college, you have quite a bit of funds that is being invested in these children's future and their education. And some parents feel that it may be a distraction and possibly an avenue into the law enforcement or justice system. So a lot of them frown on our interactions with their kids, especially when they're away from home. The last 6 years with law enforcement nationwide has not been the easiest 6 years, and it has left a lot of beliefs and torn education on how the processes of law enforcement move. So that's another thing to keep in mind when we're thinking about why we don't have a better grasp on the younger kids that are within the confounds of these schools and universities. And I just wanted to put that as a point. Sorry for that.
Thank you, Officer Hammer. Really appreciate you adding to this serious conversation. Okay, so now I'm going to turn my attention to residents. I want to give the floor to former Commissioner Sandy Washington. You have the floor.
Oh, good evening, everyone. I have a couple of questions for Officer Hamrick, and in relation to what you just spoke about, the universities and the schools, but more so it's related to the universities and working with the police officers and giving them that are the police officers that are a part of the universities. And also, I think it goes to also Commissioner Rojas. I'm over here in 5A. I live in 5A. I'm always in the community, always driving. And I think I see a lot of the police presence around Catholic University. But what I don't see is a lot of the officers whom are part of Catholic University as much as it should be. And I'm saying that because a lot of the officers, they're just sitting in their vehicles. And Commissioner Rojas, I'm saying this because I see that they're not really doing what they're supposed to be doing either as part of alleviating the problem of what goes on the campus at Catholic University. And I know that incident happened, and I'm just saying this because I see the officers on a regular basis. And that's probably something we probably need to talk about offline. But as I was going to ask, I wanted to just go back to what Commissioner Lucio mentioned about the having someone in the community as a substation. And I have to agree with the commander that I would prefer seeing the officers in the streets, in locations as I see them over in 5A06 and 5A05. And I like that presence because they do come through our community and they do slowly get involved with residents in the community. But one of my main things about the whole situation with MPD is because of all the increase in crime is that the individuals who are committing the crimes, they know that there's a shortage of police. They know that they can get away with doing a lot of these things because there's not enough police officers, not enough police presence in certain areas. And because 5804 has grown tremendously with new housing, new development, when you bring on all new housing and development, it also brings crime in different situations because it's new to other individuals. That situation that transpired on South Dakota Avenue with that young man is just horrifying. It should never have taken place at all, not at all. So I think as a community, we still have to work together. We still have to be vigilant and see what's going on. I'm nervous myself in the community going out, and I don't go out after certain hours because my daughter would probably kill me. But I just think that as a whole, the police with the shortage and with us as a community, we still got to work together to support them and give them what they need as well. People have to be more open about giving up information and sharing information on their videos and so forth, because that's the only way that I see that we're going to deter a lot of this crime, or at least try to get a little bit of hold on it, because it's not going to go away until there's enough police presence, enough police presence throughout this entire city. That's my take.
Thank you, former Commissioner Washington. Captain Chapman, I'm not sure if you want to respond to that. We can
If I could, Commissioner, before Captain speaks. Yes, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely, please.
Yes, Ms. Washington, thank you for that. You hit on a very keystone piece, which is community love. Okay, I do 5 meetings a month with all the captains, including the commander and my inspector. My last inspector just recently left us, Michelle Karen, actually brought me in her office because my campaign last year was primarily community communicating with each other and people being neighbors. People doing things in groups, being deterrent of crimes and victims of crimes by actually utilizing their neighbors, getting to know neighbors. One of the things with working with the community that I've noticed quite a bit is that you'll have someone living on one particular address and has never took the time to see who lived on the right or left of them, much less across the street. Some of us walk right into our houses and don't speak to our neighbors on a regular basis. And I'm not saying this is the issue when it comes to 5A. But I definitely agree with you when it comes to, in order for us to combat these types of situations for these bad actors, we have to come together as a community to start taking care of each other. And in a lot of essence, in a lot of platforms, I speak a lot on, before we get to what the police don't have as far as supplies and dwindling workforce and not enough, what are we doing as a community to keep ourselves safe for each other? And the mayor put out an incentive program for having cameras, and that's one of the reasons why we got that footage that we did for the loss of that young man's life. But that is just one step further to apprehending those horrible suspects that committed this crime. And that is because we have a community, especially over in 5A, that has taken the threshold and taken a lead point on going out here and getting cameras for their homes. But sometimes it takes a step more. You may have a Ring camera at your door that only sees a limited amount of footage, but you park out in front of your house. So why not get a camera that looks out onto your car and looks out onto that street, so we have a better focus? You have to understand that in today's process, what we know is that these criminals that are coming to these rural areas where we don't necessarily see a lot of crime are only coming to these rural areas because they feel like they can't get caught because there's nothing around there to witness what they're doing. And the moment that they identify that they can get away with it, they're going to come back to do these crimes again. So if we're vigilant as a community to keep an eye on everything that's going around us as neighbors or whatever the case may be, then this is something that deters individuals from coming to our neighborhoods. And I push this out a lot. If you have WhatsApp, I have quite a few neighborhoods that utilize the WhatsApp to where you call one person, you call several in one group. and somebody's going to answer. If you're leaving the house, you tell your neighbor where you're going and how long you're going to be gone, and possibly give them a key in the event that they need to get in your home and take care of something. We got to learn how to be neighbors again. I have individuals that have dogs. Several neighbors have a dog in one block, but all of them walk in different locations at different times of the day by themselves, versus walking all together with their dogs and going to one location as a group, because groups deter crime. So these are things that I talk about in my meetings, and I employ. I see President Carmen up there, but I work very closely. I try to work very closely with my ANC commissioners, especially for meetings like this, because my sector meetings don't necessarily make it here, and that information that I put out on these sector meetings are not necessarily always necessarily disseminated to our community. We need to have more of our neighbors knowing about these tips and tricks on how to deter crime. I'm sorry, I hope I didn't get too wordy.
No. Officer Hamrick, Captain Chapman, we appreciate your time. This is important. I will say, I don't want to rush anybody, but if you look at the time, I want to be sensitive and cognizant of that as well. But again, I'm not trying to rush anyone because we need this conversation. President Williams, I want to give you the floor next. We're getting down to 3 hands now, so this is good.
Okay, thank you so much. Captain Chapman, thank you so much for joining this evening. I just have a question. Well, I do have a question. I have a comment. Since the shooting last Thursday, I have seen a small uptick in police presence around the McDonald's area. This morning, I saw 3 police cars parked on the side of McDonald's, and there were 2 police cars there this evening when I came home from work. The question that I have is, there was a shooting back in December, and it was on Delafield Street. We had the carjacking that was across the street from there in the 5,000 block of 8th Street. We had the carjacking in the 5,000 block of 12th Street, and we had the carjacking in the 5100 block of Eastern Avenue. In any of those cases, especially with the shooting that happened on Delafield Street, do we have anyone who was arrested for the crime? And for the individuals who have been arrested, I know that there are privacy issues, but is there a way that we can find out where those individuals live, whether they live within our community?
So in terms of finding where they live, that's normally not information that's probably going to be shared in the arrest report. In fact, the part of the arrest report that's made available to the public would probably 9 times out of 10 exclude that particular information, because unfortunately there are individuals that would in some cases seek to take personal justice, right, or what they feel is personal justice. So that information a lot of times is excluded. And so and a number of the carjackings that we've actually lately gotten caught. We've caught a few of these carjackers lately, and we've caught them. We caught them in a bunch of them in 6D and 7D. One of the things that we've been able to use as a tool lately is if they're taking the individual cell phones, we're sometimes able to track that, and or either if a person has OnStar or what's the other video? Not video, but radio.
Sirius? Is it Sirius radio you talking
Sirius
about?
radio, yeah.
Yep.
So we're able to sometimes use those to ping it and track the cars. So and then cars like Toyota recently, we had a Toyota stolen recently in a carjacking. We were able to go through Toyota and to track that vehicle, and we were able to apprehend the individuals that did that crime. So we are catching some of these individuals, and this. The crazy part about it is, like I mentioned before, sometimes they're getting out and they're coming back and doing the same thing again.
Up here, or just the whole school?
Or the other part of it is, you mentioned the increase in presence of the officers. So what I was able to do is to work with my budget to create a couple of overtime spots, because again, like I said, we have an issue with manpower and being able to concentrate on some of these hotspot areas or areas that we having issues in. So we have to employ overtime to get people into those areas or to those spots. And so when we have issues like this, I'm able to create overtime slots to be able to increase the presence for a period of time. So that's what we were able to do this week with that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, 3 more questions and that's it. Uchenna Evans, Miss Uchenna, I see you have your hand raised. Then we're going to go to Deb, and we're going to end with Robert.
Hi, good evening, Captain Chapman. I have one statement and one question. I did want to just acknowledge, like, I feel like this young man did what we were told to do, which is walk in groups, comply, if someone asked for personal property, and he was still shot. And I think that's what's really troubling to me. And I just really feel like we have to impress upon people, not just young people, because we act like it's only young people committing violent crimes in the city when there are whole grown adults who are engaging in violent crimes. But like it's a heavy thing to live with, to kill someone. Even if you're never caught and convicted, like to live with yourself after you have killed someone, that is a heavy thing to have to live with. And I think we need to impress that upon people. Like that is not something to just take lightly. Again, even if you are never caught, like just think about having to live with that reality with yourself. That aside, Captain Chapman, you discussed it a little bit, but I do think we've got to get a handle on this fake tag situation, the carjacking situation. I mean, a car that was carjacked on the northwest side of town was brought behind my house in the alley. They clearly switched out the tags because I found the old tag on the ground. I called 911, the dispatcher, and I said to her, I'm pretty sure this car was stolen because there's no other reason that there is a tag lying on the ground. And there was like no sense of urgency, like, like, why would you say that the car is stolen? And I'm like, this car has to be stolen. Why else would there be a tag on the ground? And sure enough, like 3 hours later, when the officer arrives, he said he ran the tag and it had in fact been carjacked on the other side of town. And it just seems like we do not have a handle on the carjacking situation and the fake tags. People driving around with fake tags, and it's fine. Nothing is happening. And we know those cars are stolen, and we know they're being used to commit other crimes. And it's baffling to me that we've just like thrown up our hands and said, oh, seems like there's nothing that can be done here.
Yes, ma'am. So let me just speak to that. So I don't know how familiar you are with the with both the vehicle pursuit legislation and as well as the policies of vehicle pursuit, right? And vehicle pursuit is a very, very serious thing. And so I'll say from the perspective of if you had any idea on a daily basis, the number of times that we attempt traffic stops on cars with bad tags and them fleeing from us on a daily basis, I would venture to say without a doubt in the city, it happens at probably at least 50 times. And I feel comfortable in saying that. And it's done because the perpetrators know we're not going to chase them, and know we're not going to chase them because it's just not a safe thing to do in the city, right? If we were out in a more rural setting or a county setting, even in those situations, it may not be the safest thing to do, but especially here in a city setting, it's not. And so we have to kind of like when we do to decide to do a vehicle pursuit, each member of the police department is taking his life in his hands as well as his livelihood in his hands every time he does that, because unlike the suspect that can drive through a intersection at 100 miles an hour and not worry about what'll happen, and should they strike somebody, or should they call somebody else to strike somebody, run somebody over, or hit a pedestrian, or any of those things. we, of course, we have to always take those things into consideration for more than one reason. Of course, it doesn't the scales of justice don't balance out for me to get a individual that stole a car, which is a property crime, and in the midst of trying to catch this person who committed a property crime, an individual, a mom, a kid, grandma, somebody coming home from work, coming home from church, they're injured as collateral of this particular vehicle pursuit. So trust me and believe me, it took me a while to get in my mind and in my head, like, yo, we can get this person, we can catch them, like right here. But we also have to think the big picture of these individuals. When they run, they are driving and they're not thinking of anybody else on the road other than to get away. And we don't want to put them in a situation where they're going to injure someone else. And we definitely don't want to put officers in a situation where they could possibly injure someone.
Thank you, Captain Chapman. Captain Chapman, I really appreciate you sticking here with us, answering these questions. It means a lot. So next we have Deb and then Robert.
Thank you. My question goes back to the cameras, and I think Officer Hammer mentioned that a lot of the residents have already done the cameras for their homes, but more specifically, I'm want information or have an ask regarding the neighborhood crime cameras from MPD. And according to the website, your website, there are 38 in the 4th district. Only 4 of those are in Northeast, and 3 of the 4 are on Oglethorpe Street. 6 in Oglethorpe, Eastern Avenue in Oglethorpe, and 521 Oglethorpe in the rear, which is right down the street from 6 in Oglethorpe. Clearly, that camera at 521 Oglethorpe Street does not need to be there and can be relocated to South Dakota and Delafield, where McDonald's, the convenience store, gas station, that area, where we've had the 2 shootings without any real harm. The 521 Oglethorpe camera needs to be moved.
Okay, so I'm making note of that. And you said that was 521 Oglethorpe?
Yeah, I believe that's the mayor's former home.
Okay, so I believe the mayor continues to own that residence, but I'm not 100% certain, but I will find that out. But
and I'm certain she can get a neighborhood camera, a Ring camera like the rest of us. If she's not residing in that home, and it's one already down the street.
Right. Yeah. So when it comes to the crime cameras, those are placed based on statistics or crime stats. And so we have little, from perspective here, we have little control over where those are placed. Sometimes we're able to put out temporary crime cameras or the mobile crime cameras for a period of time. So if there's an area that there's an uptick in crime, we are able to sometimes request, the commander is able to request a crime camera, and we can place it in that area for a limited amount of time. And so if there is an issue or an area that you would like us to try and put one in, we can try and facilitate that. But the more permanent ones are based on statistics, and so that's how they place them. I'm not sure what the chairman can facilitate. You have a little,
Captain Chapman. Listen, I'm already teed up. I just want to make sure that all of the residents have their voices heard. However, what I'm going to do now, because you teed me up, I'm going to on Monday at my single member district meeting, Deb and others, we talked about this same issue. And so I understand what you're saying about a temporary versus a permanent police camera. But we need a permanent police camera at or near the McDonald's at 8th and Decatur corridor area. So what I want you to be present for tonight, what I'm hoping for is, it's my goal for us to pass a resolution tonight in support of a permanent police camera at or near the intersection of 8th and Decatur where the McDonald's is located. That's my goal, that's my plan, and commissioners, I will entertain a motion of such at this time. Do I have anyone willing to do that?
Commissioner or Chairman Fletcher, I motion that there be a permanent installation of a camera at the location that you've indicated, and that the commission passes a resolution in support of said motion.
My apologies. Can you repeat the location?
8th and Decatur.
If I can amend my motion, I would motion that the commission passes a resolution in support of a permanent camera at 8th and Decatur.
There is no 8th in Decatur.
Right, and South Dakota and Delafield.
South Dakota.
Thank you. My blame it on the nighttime. Thank you for correcting me. So I'm the maker of the motion. You can amend that motion, so you can do that, Commissioner Kozar.
It says South Dakota and Delafield.
I'll amend the motion again. I motion that the commission pass a resolution in support of a permanent camera in South Dakota and Delafield on this evening.
Do I have a second?
Okay, can we need everyone to mute their microphones, please.
Yes.
Not a commissioner, please mute.
Yes.
I'll second that motion, Commissioner Lucio.
Okay.
I believe actually Commissioner Bakun beat you to it.
Yeah.
So Commissioner Book, thank you very much, Commissioner Rojas. But I think there may be another motion potentially. Commissioner Bukum has seconded that motion for a resolution in support of a permanent police camera at South Dakota and Delafield, the intersection of South Dakota and Delafield.
Correct.
Ready for the question? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Okay, great. So Captain Chapman, Officer Hamrick, I'm going to be working closely with Commissioner Kozart to produce the resolution. And that resolution will be sent to you, sent to Councilmember Parker, sent to the mayor's office, and we're going to move forward with working to get a permanent camera installed at the corner of South Dakota and Delafield. Now, next, I also heard on Monday comments and concerns around the lighting in the alleyway adjacent to McDonald's. There have been requests by concerned residents of our community about increased lighting in that alleyway specifically. And so I would entertain a motion to draft a resolution in support of increased lighting in the alleyways adjacent to McDonald's. Do I have anyone that would make that motion?
I'll make that motion. I'll make a motion that we increase the lighting in the alleyways adjacent to McDonald's.
Do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I knew there was going to be another one, Commissioner Rojas. So Commissioner Rojas has seconded that motion. Ready for the question? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Question. Former Commissioner Sandy Washington, we're at the question period, so you can ask a question now. Yes.
I'm just thinking that resolution should be directed to DDOT because they're the ones that are responsible for lighting in the alley.
So the maker of the motion, Commissioner Lucio, can you modify that, please?
Yeah, I don't think I specified who it was going to come from, but I will make a motion. I will update the motion to say that we need to add lighting to the area adjacent to McDonald's. And former Commissioner Washington is correct. That would come from DDOT. So I would request that when we put that in writing, that it be addressed to DDOT.
Okay, so The amendment, if I'm hearing it,
you.
is that the resolution will be addressed to DDOT. That's the modification. Commissioner Rojas, do you would, yeah,
I'll second that motion.
okay, thank
And
you.
Chairman Fletcher, it wouldn't be a resolution necessarily, it could be a letter, right?
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
letter, okay, no problem. So a letter, requesting increased lighting for the alleyway adjacent to McDonald's. That is the motion that was made and seconded. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, so I will be working with Commissioner Lucio to draft that letter as well. That will be sent to DDOT to increase the lighting for the alleyway adjacent to McDonald's. So community members, these are two measures that ANC 5A are taking to increase safety within our community. And so we will continue to inform you of updates regarding both of these resolution and letter that we have agreed to draft this evening. Okay, and so there's one final hand, and then I think we can start moving along to other matters, but I think we handled this as much as we could. So Robert, you have the final
Commissioner, if I could, before we go to Robert, can I just put a note in really quick?
Officer Hamrick, of course you can.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. I just wanted to put in an actual ask from my side of the table, and this may sound a little funny, but if at all possible, I would ask the commission to please put a representative in place that can better inform our ANCs and SMDs about SMDs and ANCs that are outside of their own. One of the things that I'm seeing as a complication is that a lot of our ANCs are not communicating citywide. They're not communicating across the board. We're dealing with crimes and homicides in one particular area, but you have to remember that the Metropolitan Police Department handles this holistically. So we handle the whole entire 4th District, and we notice that our ANCs are not knowing anything except what's going on in their ANC. Now, I know handling the responsibility is like a family cooking in the kitchen. Everybody cooks their piece to make the grand meal, but we need you guys to know what's going on outside of your ANC and communicate with your sister and brother ANCs so you can better utilize each other to combat crimes as we see them in real time. And what happens is you'll start to see a different narrative as far as I want a camera on my block, not knowing that there was a homicide in the ANC or SMD right next to you. So though I know it doesn't always feel that way, but it presents a selfishness within our city confines or within our district confines that no one seems to know about except for the entity or agency that's looking at this holistically. Does that make sense?
Officer Hamrick, that makes perfect sense. I need to have a conversation with you, sir. And so I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think we as ANCs, we need to collaborate and network and work together much more, especially around safety. What I want to do is I want to talk with you and then transparency from all the commissioners and community here at our next meeting. I'm hopeful that we will be able to approve a resolution that includes the verbiage, language, and much more of what you just asserted. But what I want to do over the course of the next 20, 30 days, have a conversation with you, have a conversation with commissioners, understand what exactly how you want to go about this. And then God willing, at our February meeting, we will approve a resolution for such language and such movements.
Outstanding. And then the last one for tonight is to please find a representative within our community and or in your ranks that can help our community be more educated on the processes and policies that are being put in place that limit and change the way policing is being done today. I am a veteran of 21 years of patrol, and a lot of times the main teaching of a patrol officer was primarily his traffic. So we would make numerous traffic stops within a day of any level, from misdemeanor to felony operations for that traffic stop that would usually and normally lead to the deterrent of a violent crime. finding a gun in the car, finding a suspect that was wanted, finding a car that was stolen. But as you know, in the last 6 years, the relationship between the community and the police department has been broken for numerous reasons. We all know what they are. But this has also changed a lot of policies that has limited officers from being able to make certain operational stops and procedures for the fear of losing their job, ending up on CNN, or whatever the case may be. But this has caused a longevity of limitlessness when it comes to the everyday operations of patrol work, which does not help us when we're trying to do or fight crime on a regular basis, especially the crimes we're seeing an uptick in. Does that make sense?
I agree. It makes perfect sense. I also stated during our my single member district meeting and talking to residents that we have to hit this in a bifurcated way, twofold. We need immediate solutions, which is what we did tonight with the resolutions, with the cameras and increased lighting. We need long-term solutions. We have to, our council members, our elected officials, the legislation that they draft, it matters. Folks think it doesn't, it does. And so we have to also advocate to our elected officials around what needs to happen legislatively as well. That's more long-term, but that's still something that has to happen simultaneously. So I don't want to keep talking about this because I could talk about it forever. There's a lot I have to say on it. So, but I want to respect everyone's time. So I want to reach out to you. Please, sir, if you could put your information in the chat. I'm going to reach out to you, and then we will talk more about this specific topic at our next ANC meeting in February. And so now I want to give Robert the last question, comment, and I believe Commissioner Lucio has information she wants to state, and then we're going to move on to the next agenda item.
Okay, everyone, I will make this quick. Officer Hamrick took the words right out of my mouth. A lot of the problems we've been having with crime have been basically done because of missteps or issues that our elected officials have done. Basically, it's gotten to the point now where the law is written in such a way that it takes a lot of effort to find someone guilty of certain crimes, especially juveniles, and even including shootings. More so, our crime lab has been down for at least 3 years, which has hampered a lot of the ballistics and other investigations that is done by the city. Lastly, if you look at what the current chairman of the police is doing right now, she's rolling back a lot of the laws that have been passed by council. So I think, as has been alluded to, a lot of what council has been doing needs to be scrutinized, because what happens is they would nitpick and change a law here and change a law there. But the problem is no one seems to be looking at the totality of all of these changes. And it's the totality that is causing a lot of the problems. Lastly, to go back to what the officer is saying, there's a law that you can't put someone in an illegal chokehold. But it seems to be so loosely defined that if you grab somebody by the neck and they struggle, yeah, for a second, you may have them in a chokehold. The fact that you may release them or you try to move your hands, that gives the person who's trying to get away an advantage. So some common sense has to be applied to the measures and laws going forward. And that's my comment.
Thank you very much, Robert, and I agree. And so I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to stop it here. I want to give Commissioner Lucio, opportunity to provide some information. Officer Hamrick, thank you, thank you, thank you. Captain Chapman, thank you, thank you, thank you. We really appreciate on behalf of ANC 5A. So Commissioner Lucio, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman Fletcher. I just wanted to make a note that I put in the chat a bunch of resources. The Sector 2 meetings happen the second Tuesday of every month at 6 o'clock. I put the link in for those. You can also find them on the MPD 4th District website. So you just go look up the Sector 2 meetings. The other thing I wanted to highlight is and I'm sure Carlos will also mention this as well, is that we did a crime walk in the community with MPD a while back, and since then, Councilmember Parker has been doing monthly public safety calls with the police captains from 4D, 5D, and the other one that's in his that touches Ward 5. I forget which one it is. Anyway, and so those are every month. Those are I believe the last Wednesday of the month, and the next one is coming up next week, Wednesday, January 31st, from 3 to 4:30 p.m. I know that's not the most convenient time for everybody, but that is the only time that they could make work. But I put the link in for that. If you're not on the council members email list to get his newsletter that has that information, I would strongly encourage you to sign up. So thank you, Chairman Fletcher, for allowing me a couple minutes.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Lucio. And Officer Hamrick, I already sent you an email. So let me know, just give me some dates and times for us to meet. And just want to do that in real time. All right. So next up on our agenda, we want to go down to annual report, financial report, annual report. Sorry.
Yep, annual report is where we're at.
Yeah, okay, great. Annual report. So we have put together the annual report. I'm trying to see if I could share it. But commissioners, well, Commissioner Bukum or Commissioner Lucy, do you have it available?
Chairman Fletcher, since it's not in a finalized format, I would wait until it's in a finalized format before we share it with the community, because we've got a couple more edits we have to make.
Okay, all right, so we'll table that for next month then. That's fine. Next, Public Safety Committee update. Commissioner Kozar, anything from you?
No updates, since we're just now starting off the year. Based on the information that's been shared this evening, it's a great opportunity to follow up with you after speaking with Officer Hamrick, Captain Chapman, and maybe even getting Executive Director Kent Bass involved. As we look at what the goal of the Public Safety Committee will be and the niche that we're trying to create and getting it stood up, I want to ensure that we're incorporating that holistic view that was spoken of earlier and not just focus on what is affecting our SMD alone. So I think it's worth it to have some additional conversations on what the next steps will be, and ensuring that we have the appropriate parties a part of that committee before we start putting it out for the public's consumption.
Okay.
That's the only update I have at this point.
Okay, no, understood. But one thing I can say is that
yes, sir,
the two resolutions that the two resolutions that were passed this evening,
yes, sir,
I think we could put those underneath.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so at least, you know, working with myself, Commissioner Lucio, regarding that, just
absolutely
public. Okay, Commissioner Lucio, yes, you have.
I just wanted to say, Commissioner Kozar, do you mind putting your email in the chat? There are several people who've asked about joining the Public Safety Committee, and I want to make sure they know how to reach you.
Will do. I'll put that in there now. And just for everybody's awareness, all of our information that we're sharing is publicly broadcast in other places, including my information. So if for some reason you don't have it or don't remember it, it will be on our main ANC webpage, but I'll drop that in the chat now.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We're going to try and see if we can make up some time without going too fast and rushing through. All right. Next up, Faith United Church of Christ Community Agreement. So what I will say about this community and residents, as I said numerous times already, on Monday, I held a single member district meeting. At that meeting, we had a discussion around the Faith United Church of Christ hypothermia shelter that is being taking place within my single member district. During the holiday months, an ANC task force was put together with community members as well as ANC commissioners to put together a shared agreement. The agreement is one in which it provides guidelines, expectations for expectations that ANC and the North Michigan Park community, by way of North Michigan Park Civic Association, has for Faith United of Church of Christ as they host and they put on this hypothermia shelter. We put together a draft agreement, and so what we're going to do now is I'm going to take that agreement and bring it back to the committee, as well as have a joint single member district meeting with Commissioner Lucio residents before we finalize the agreement. The reason why we're taking these steps is because, one, we want to make sure that we are adhering to and working with 200 footers. We're working with everyone and anyone that may be affected by the activity at Faith United Church of Christ, hypothermia shelter. And it is the commission's and the committee's belief that there is a good chance that this will not be the last time that Faith United Church of Christ uses their location for hypothermia shelter. So we're not just only thinking about what's happening now, or thinking about what could potentially happen in the future, but we want to make sure that we're being as inclusive as possible. So that's where we are. Those are steps that have been taken. And I will also note that from my understanding, my knowledge, there's not been many scenarios of negative activity or bad situations that have occurred. I know there's been one or two, but overall not many. I've heard of everything's pretty much going okay. And so I will open up the floor for a minute or two just to give some updates around this, allow folks to give comments if they have them, but we don't need to talk about this that much in this meeting because we'll have another single member district meeting, a joint single member district meeting around this topic before we come to a vote of the entire ANC. So that's where we are. Those are steps that we're taking. So I'll open the floor for any questions or comments at this time. No comments? No questions? Okay. All right. Thank you very much on that. Okay, we're moving down to agenda item E. We're going to talk about the ANC 5A satellite office space and Ward 5 mutual aid closure. Commissioner Bukum, I would like to give you the floor.
So Ward 5 Mutual Aid has moved out of the office at 420 Galloway Street Northeast, and is grateful to ANC 5A for having let Ward 5 Mutual Aid use the space for 2.5 years. Any questions?
Maya, yes. Maya and Carolyn.
Yeah, hi. What is the next use of that space going to be for? And do we know anything more about what's happening with mutual aid? Thanks.
I'll address the part about mutual aid. It does not currently have a location, but it's still doing grocery deliveries based on purchasing food at grocery stores and delivering it to Ward 5 residents in need. But as far as a location, there is not one right now.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'll answer the second part of that question, but I'll start off with ANC 5A wants to do our best in serving the community, supporting those who do not have access, do not have the ability to purchase items, especially basic items, during COVID-19. That's why and how the use of the office transformed. It was during a pandemic. The idea, the original intent and purpose of that office as a community benefit agreement that previous commissioners fought long and hard for is for the ANC office, ANC use. The office is not big enough to host community meetings, and the way the office is kind of structured, the intended use of the office going forward will be for executive committee meetings, as well as for commissioners to meet with community members around particular issues and topics. At some point in the future, UDC Bernie Bacchus will close and for renovations and construction, and that will make it even more necessary for ANC 5A officers to have a place in the community to conduct business. We are lucky to have a site such as this to conduct business and to meet with community members. Many ANCs across the city do not have such a site, do not have such a space. And so we want to make sure that we use it for its intended purpose. Moreover, the landlords, K-Fritz, they also have a contract, an agreement in place to use the office for office space, not for anything else. I know that many community members potentially want to utilize it for other reasons, but unfortunately, that is not the intended purpose of that space. Please don't shoot me. I'm just a messenger. I'm the person that has to state this. I'm the chair. So I just want to communicate this to make everyone aware, but it's still a place that you can meet your commissioner and talk about community business. So, and then lastly, I have fought and advocated for the relocation of Ward 5 mutual aid. Shayla, Commissioner Bukum, has been steadfast, has been amazing in her understanding about the closure of the office for Ward 5 mutual aid purposes. And so I want to just acknowledge her personally and in public about that. This is a tough decision, but it's what we have to do. Okay, so I just want to be clear, and I've spoken with Councilmember Parker's office, as well as community members, stakeholders, about trying my best to find Ward 5 mutual aid another site. Commissioner Bukum, I think, can attest to that. But that's where we are. So yeah, thank you.
I appreciate that, Chairman. I just want to mention as on behalf of the Ward 5 Education Equity Committee that we also don't really have any space, and it had been good to be able to partner with mutual aid to be able to help collect coats to distribute to students in the ward. And I'm not sure if that sort of thing would be something that we could partner with ANCs on. We've been trying to figure out what to do for future years if there's not a good space.
Yeah, and again, I'm not trying to council. We need to lean in our council members for things such as these. We need to lead, and not just Councilmember Parker. They're at-large council members as well. Okay, this is not just the task of the ANC 5, and I'm not saying that's what you're stating either. I just want to be very clear that this whole thing was just put on the backs of ANC 5A. When you have a Ward 5 council member, you have at-large council members, you have a chairman of the council as well that can assist. So I just, and ANC 5A has taken the brunt of a lot of negative wording and verbiage around this. And so I just want to be clear, like, there are other entities, and I will work with you to try and find some other avenues as well, because the work of the Ward 5 Equity Education Committee, as well as Ward 5 Mutual Aid, is critical. It's very critical. Former Commissioner Washington, you have the floor.
I'm okay. I was just gonna kind of state what you were saying. And that's all, just in agreement. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, former Commissioner Washington. So any other questions or concerns? All right. Thank you. Thank you. So moving right along.
Chairman Fletcher, I'd like to ask that we table the next item if we can, until we have a chance to discuss that in our executive meeting.
I agree. But just so folks know, we are having discussions around a part-time temporary office assistant, just discussions. You will hear more about that at the next ANC meeting. Next up, we're going to commission action items and updates. As I talked about regarding Faith United Church of Christ, where we are in terms of the shared agreement. So that will be discussed as well at the next meeting. It is my hopes that I will work with Commissioner Lucio to find a mutual date to host a joint single member district meeting on this topic and this topic only. Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna go down to 243. So yeah, 243 Hawaii Avenue, BZA 5807. Commissioner Boston, did we say, I believe we said we were gonna have you and former Commissioner Washington.
That's 5806, not 5807.
Okay, so 240 commissioners, 240.
This is the one you were working on, Chairman Fletcher, and you said you were gonna have.
Yeah, so she's going to present at the community meeting.
You were.
Is it someone that's supposed to be presenting? I thought on the BZA and you guys were gonna take a vote on it based on the community?
Yes, you were gonna have the community members here to be present for this.
So I'm one of the property owners, the homeowners at 243, and I believe, Jennifer, are you on here?
Okay, okay.
Yes, I'm here too.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. I was waiting for somebody to chime in as well. I hadn't heard anyone. So okay, so
Sorry, I'm new to this, so I didn't know the protocol.
oh no, no problem at all. It's just a little, when there's silence sometimes it gets a little
Well, thank you
so-
for having us, and I'll let Jennifer's been helping us with, really trying to work through this process as new homeowners in the neighborhood, and I'll just turn it over to her to help us, and I'm happy to jump in as need be.
Sure, thanks, Muriel. My name is Jennifer Verbeck. I'm with MCD Studio. I'm the architect working with Muriel and Arden on the home at 243 Hawaii Avenue
I'm
Northeast.
sorry, real quick. Do you need screen sharing?
If you'd like to see stuff, I have stuff that I can share. Yes.
We would need it, and then I also need you to send me a copy of it, please, if you can email it to me.
I can. It's all the stuff that I've emailed you previously, but I can follow up with the second one.
Thank you.
So I am just sharing the screen here. Share. So I'm working with Muriel and Arden. They purchased this side of the duplex at 243 Hawaii Avenue, and we are the project in mind is to change this from a single family to a two-family flat. We are not proposing any additions. There would be no. It would not look different from the exterior at all. One unit would be a two-story unit with the main level and the basement, and the second unit would be a kind of a loft style going up to the second floor. As I said, all of the work is to the interior of the building. This is compatible with the RA1 zone, which allows for detached dwellings and low-rise apartments. And then I thought it would be helpful to see kind of, this is the square that the block is on. This is the property in question. And all of the yellow dots represent homes that I have found the certificate of occupancy for that are currently already two-family flats. So you can see that this block in particular and this square is very well populated with the two-family flats. So it would not be different for this home in terms of the context of the rest of the neighborhood. This information was all pulled from public records on DC. So there may be other properties being used in this context where the C of O was not able to be found in public records. One of these might be the direct neighbor at 239, which is the non-detached neighbor. As we have all of the notifications have been sent out via BZA protocols to all owners within the 200-foot radius. But the home at 239, we've not personally spoken with the owner because it's rented out as a two-family flat, but it wasn't noted as a two-family flat in the public record search. And then the homeowner, and they've been in contact with the attached homeowner, Michael Hansborough. I'm not sure if he's on tonight, but they have talked to him about the plans. They've actually taken him into the property to see some of the demolition work that has been done. And he does not appear to have any opposition. We're trying to gather some neighborhood letters. We currently have 2 neighborhood letters from folks in the area that do not oppose our proposition. And I'm happy to take any questions that you may have. I do have drawings for it, but since it's all interior, I wasn't sure how helpful that would be to this discussion.
Yeah, and so Jennifer, thank you, and you did it in a very good time frame as well. The presentation, we appreciate that. So what I will say is that as you may or may not know, ANC 5807 is vacant at this time, and since it's vacant, what we typically do is we have what are known as 200 footers. Yeah, 200, that's true. Yeah, 200 footers, those most affected by, impacted by whatever the project renovation construction may be. And so I'm curious if there are any 200 footers on the line right now. So meaning, are anyone that lives immediately or close next to or in the vicinity of 243 Hawaii Avenue? Is there anyone here that lives in that vicinity? So Jennifer, because of that silence, and I'm hoping you stay on for a little bit because you'll see what I'm talking about with the next action item coming up. So I want to work with you and the owners to identify, to either host a separate meeting, or we have a discussion with 200 footers, or we bring 200 footers to our committee of the whole meeting, which is tonight in February, and we have this discussion, because we can't vote on this one or the other without hearing from the neighbors as well, whether they support or they do not support the renovation. And I hope you understand that.
I do understand the need to hear from the neighborhood. That's why we're trying to reach out directly to the neighbors. We did not know that 5807 was not occupied when we started reaching out in November.
It's not 5807. We need to make sure it's noted. It's 5806. 5807.
I have that on the other screen.
Thank you, former Commissioner Washington. I'm looking at my notes here, 5807. So, okay. Yeah.
That's what my notes say
May I
too.
just jump in real quick as the property owner? I'm just going to speak very honestly. My husband and I are big developers. We are DC residents. My husband is a native Washingtonian. We bought the property, quite frankly, to reinvest in the community. And we bought it with the intent of turning it into a 2-bedroom flat because we have 17-year-old twins who are soon to be young adults, and we wanted to be able to provide them with a property that they could share in their young adult life. We tried to go through the DC law, and
I couldn't hear you. You tried to go through the phone ring.
We were trying to go through the proper DC legal protocol, getting all the permits, hiring an architect. We have been sitting with this property now vacant, not being able to do any work to it, paying out of our own pockets as small business owners for months because we can't get these approved. So I understand, but this is new news, for us, that we now have to get this 200-footer piece. And I'm just asking, it's very different than if we're a GBJ Smith coming here and building a big building. We're literally two DC residents just trying to make this happen for our kids and trying to do it, particularly as Black people trying to reinvest in the community. So I'm just asking for, I don't know if there's anything that can be done, but it is a little frustrating because we are paying out of pocket every month, not able to do any work on this property because of this one thing that's holding us up.
Okay.
Commissioner Fletcher.
Hold on. Commissioner Washington, former Commissioner Washington, you know I gotta keep this under control. So I wanna recognize Commissioner Bukum, Commissioner Lucio, and then I'm gonna go to former Commissioner Washington, and then we'll close out with President Williams.
I'll let Commissioner Lucio go first.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman Fletcher. I just want to clarify that when I was first notified of this property, the first thing I told them is that they needed to get notification from the 200-foot residents. I will acknowledge that the presenter did indicate they had 2 letters, but this is one of those things that we don't like to make changes like this within the community. I understand the concern from a business perspective, but this is one of those things that we really support getting the residents involved in something that's going to be a change to their community. Really requires the support of those within the immediate vicinity. And I hate to do this without them knowing about it. And so I just want to reiterate that I did share with you when you first reached out to me that was 100% what needed to be done as a first step in this process.
Yes, you did. And I reached out for guidance on how to do that because we had notified them through the BZA protocols by doing a mailing for 200 feet. But it seems like I don't have the capacity, nor do I think that the homeowners would appreciate me just cold knocking on everyone's door as a random person about this. So we were looking for that guidance on how to do this in a way that would be amenable to the community and be most productive for everyone's time. I also want to point out that our actual BZA hearing is March 20th. So I would be absolutely fine to come back and do this in the February meeting, and with the hopes that that would still meet the timeframe for the BZA in March. So I just want to put that out there if that's the direction that would like to go, so long as it's not affecting our BZA hearing, that might be more amenable for the homeowners.
Yes, we will go. We're still going to hear from all of those having their hands raised now. Yes, there's time. So let's utilize the time that we have right now. Commissioner Bukun.
Okay, I wasn't able to look up on a computer whether this is 5A06 or 5A07, but I will note that 5A06 is also vacant currently.
Right.
So, and my question was, so there's all these duplexes, right? Like two, and then each one of those has two flats. I mean, I'm saying all the neighbors basically, right? So there's basically 4 units in a two-family. I mean, in a duplex. Right? Is that correct? Just wanted to understand.
For many of them, it's not every, but it is very popular in this block.
And how's the parking? Is parking a difficulty?
No, because the other side of the street is Catholic sports field, so I have not experienced any problems with the parking in that area.
Thank you.
Former Commissioner Washington.
Thank you, Commissioner and Chairman. You and I spoke about this briefly. I live in 506. I know the area very well. And as the individual came on, Jennifer, I think, and was explaining about the area, as I spoke to you about, is mostly condensed with duplexes. That's the area. It's a short stretch between Fort Totten Drive and I think it's 2nd Street or 1st Street. Across the street from them is no one living. It's the park. It's Fort Totten Park, and in back of it is Catholic University. So the 200 footers that we're talking about would only be the neighbors behind them or the neighbors where they are. And like you stated, Commissioner Lucio, they can do a letter out to all of those individuals, letting them know what the situation is. That's what my understanding is of letting someone know that's a 200 footer and wait for a response. But since that area of Pleasant Hills, the majority of those homes that are there, they are duplexes. So I don't see where there would be a real situation moving forward with not having a single member district meeting or having one, because if you're going to send the letters out or if they're going to do a door-to-door campaign, that seems like to me would be sufficient enough for the BZA.
Yeah, and I appreciate those suggestions and comments. That's why, look, I'm not sure, Ms. Wilkins. Yeah, I hear your concern. Small business owners, small landlords, there's a space and, for you, and you need to be protected and advocated for as well. But there's a process that we have to go through, because if we do something different for you, then we have to do it for somebody else. And so, but the good thing here is we have some time. So Jennifer, please send me an email tomorrow. Let's get on a call and put a plan of action that really incorporates what former Commissioner Washington stated, just so we could check the boxes. You got to be able to say that we've done what we needed to do with candor and truthness, right? And so as long as we can say that, then we can move forward. And so I see you still having enough time to meet your BZA hearing on March 20th. So that's the plan of action for us tonight. I'll await that email and we could take it from there.
Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate that. I'd just like to say that we did request this in emails before, but I understand that the end of the year can be a challenging time for all of your volunteer work.
Yes,
So
and this is we as commissioners, we take this work very seriously, but yes, it is volunteer, and not just that, it's the holiday season. It can get kind of wacky, but we're getting back in, on proper stream, and we have time still to meet your hearing date. Okay?
I appreciate it.
Thank you. President Williams, if it's something that you gotta say, I'm always gonna give you the floor.
No, I just want to make a comment. I understand your frustration, but it's best that you get it done now and not have your project start, and then you get the complaint and have a stop work order, and then you can't move forward. So it's better to check the boxes going forward, make sure you have all your ducks in a row before it gets started. So that's the only comment I have. Thank you very much.
And I appreciate that. I think you can all probably feel the pain of having had a mortgage for a year and having to pay out of pocket for it. So I appreciate it. I thank you all, and hopefully we can get this resolved sooner, or else we might not be neighbors, because I don't know.
No. We don't want that either. So no, and mortgage, I feel it. I just kind of tensed up as you said it.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so we're almost there, everyone. We're almost there. I want to give the floor to Mr. Eris King to discuss 729 Delafield Street, Northeast BZA.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Commissioner Chairman, Mr. Fletcher, and to the committee members. I appreciate this time. I'm very brief because I have some neighbors that was sticking with me to help me out in this issue. But I have a home. I live at 729 Delafield Street, Northeast. And my wife and kids. Wife wasn't able to make it tonight. She's at school, but I'm just gonna basically say we are asking BZA zoning for a special exemption. We had a construction that started May 20 of 2022. Everything was good till got to June 21st. We had an inspector come out and ask for 2 permits. One was a wall check, and the other one was a infraction of the contractor made a mistake and went over the blueprint guidelines. Basically, the inspector just told us once we received that wall check permit and submit new drawings of what was over the line, it shouldn't be an issue to proceed. That was in June 20 of 22, and we end up getting the permit from BZA on June 23rd, which would have helped us if we would have had it documented on our window. But unfortunately, the contract was waiting on BZA because the inspector was third-party inspector, so it took some time. So that's why it was flagged. So we had a work stop order, and basically we had to protest. Well, we had to fight one of the infractions because it was done. Basically, they had said we didn't do a wall check, but the wall check was done. We was just waiting on that permit. So for that to happen, we had to wait on a hearing to fight that infraction before we can move forward to any additional to the project. So that was in June. We didn't get no notice. It seemed like everything went dead with at the time DCRA, because I guess from what we was told, they was losing a lot of employees, inspectors, and they was about to get ready for a new change, a merge. That's what they are now. By August, I was hit with illness. I had colon cancer, and pretty much my focus stopped on the project. And basically, late October, November, I was cleared to be able to go back to work. And that's when I started trying to reach back to BZA, and still wasn't getting no return calls on anything. It was just dead silence. December, somebody family reached back to us, a supervisor, because we had to kind of go above some above channels. The family gets some answers of why we're not getting any answers of what date we will have for the hearing for the infraction, so we can move forward. So then January.
So Mr. King, let me do this, right? Because just to get us where we need to go, what exactly is the ask first?
The ask is for a special exemption because the new BZA guidelines is a certain setback of your property you have to have from where a building is built to the property line of the alley. The structure was already built and it went over 2 feet over the guidelines of what they say our residents could go. So we have a 3-story frame already built, and but the new drawings we submitted, basically zoning still denied that. So we.
Okay, so to be clear, you're looking for a special exemption for the additional inches that have been created from your developer.
Foot, yes, the foot. It was two.
It's inches. Sorry, not inches. 2 feet.
2 feet. Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we're not talking about the height. We're talking about the width. Okay.
Yes.
Got it. So with that being said, how many 200 footers are here? How many residents are here that are immediately adjacent to the King residence? I see 1. Andrew, I see 2. Okay. Do we have any others?
Across the street.
We got 3. We got Bill. All right. And Mr. King, you've also made all of your residents around the community know about this special exemption, correct?
Yes. BZA has sent out notice in November about
Okay.
this.
Okay. Jeff R., I can't see your last name. Can you attest to receiving that notice? Were you made aware of this?
Yes, and so it's a duplex, and I'm the homeowner who shares the wall with Mr. King.
Okay. Andrew Green, were you made aware of this as well?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and what is your address?
I'm on 720 Decatur Place. So behind Mr. King across the alley, I'm the next door duplex to that. You could probably throw a football in his backyard from our backyard.
Copy. Okay. Are there any others on the line? Bill, I know you, because I know you were on this special meeting single member district meeting on Monday. Okay, and then Donna McGregory Hall, you are also across the street at 728, and you are in full support. All right. So, all right. So I have 200 footers with us. Are any of you not in support of this?
Yeah, I'm in full support. It would be great to let the stop work be lifted and to let the work continue. It's been quite a long time, and I know the King family well, and they've been working hard to go through all the process correctly and make sure everything is done right. And so, would greatly appreciate the support of everyone to be able to let them continue with this project.
This is Bill.
Bill, yes.
I am neutral. No, I'm not going to go yes or no on the project. My concern is with the process. with the process and notice to the community prior to the construction project being done in the first place.
Okay. All right.
It's somewhat of a complaint, and I'm really curious as to when did the ANC know about this project?
Yeah, that
That's
Bill,
my question. When did the
yeah,
ANC
Bill,
know about it?
yeah, Bill, I think you alluded to it at our call on Monday. This predates me. In the 8 years, and 8 years I've been part of ANC 5A. This project has not come up. So this was before. It wasn't with me. President Williams.
Actually, no, it wasn't. The project that they're doing now was during your time.
Was it?
The process where they went up on the home was before you, but what they're doing now was during your time.
Well, yes, President Williams. Yes. Yes. I can agree with that. Man, yes. Yes, we're right there on that. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Commissioner Lucio, yes.
But to clarify, right, it's from what I've read, it sounds as though the project with its initial intention would not have required an ANC support. It's only because they've gone over the property line now that requires our support. Is that correct? We haven't seen the drawings or the pictures or anything like that.
Correct. That's what this is. That's what this is. That's why this is just about that special exemption for the 2 feet.
Right. So we would have never seen it before anyway, I don't believe.
Yes, you would have.
Okay, but so in that, okay, so again, we haven't seen the picture, so it's really hard to I mean, I'm very happy that the neighbors are in support of this but I am a little discouraged that this was not brought to the ANC before for the original permitting process. And first and foremost, and second of all, I'm also a little bit discouraged that the homeowner presenting tonight doesn't have the drawings to show us, so that we can have a better sense of what's going on.
So we discussed all of this during a single member district meeting. I am not going to rehash all of that tonight. We're not doing that. I got 200 footers on the call. I'm sorry, Mr. King got them on the call. The 200 footers here have stated that everyone's in support or they abstain. Another question for the 200 foot. I hear what you're saying, Commissioner Lucy. I want to put that for the record as well. I hear what you're saying wholeheartedly. President Williams, I hear what you're saying as well. But those who are most affected by it, I'm hearing no issues, and I know the neighborhood. There are not that many houses on the street. So my next question for those that are on the line: do you know anybody in the community, in your neighborhood, that will be opposed of this?
No. In fact, most people that I know in the community, I think that I've talked to share my view that they'd like to be able to see the project continue. I mean, at the moment, it's sort of a frame made of wood that it's not completed, and that, people would like to see the work completed and to let these people live in this home and kind of move on. It's been, almost 2 years of a stop work at this point. And so, yeah, I mean, that's in all the conversations I've had, that's the impression I've gained.
Thank you. So with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to support Mr. King's special exemption for the 2 feet to complete his project at this time. I'm chair, so I can't make the motion.
I'll make the motion. I'll make a motion to support this project moving forward. Just to state it specifically for 729 Delafield Street Northeast, BZA hearing, allowing it to move forward and lift the stop order.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. We're in the question period. Former Commissioner Washington, yes.
I'm just trying to, I'm not a commissioner anymore. I know I'm former commissioner, but I'm just trying to remember if this was brought, and if it wasn't brought to the commission prior to, did the homeowner notify the commission that it was going to be done as a courtesy? Even though they did not require commission approval.
Mr. King has been keeping me abreast
Okay.
of this. We are in constant communication. He texts me. Him and his wife walk past my house pretty much daily. We talk, so I can attest to that. President Williams.
I just have a question. And this would be pretty much for the neighbor next door. I know that you recently moved in. There was another neighbor who was there previously. So the question that I have is, was there a shadow study done in reference to how it's going to affect your property?
I've lived here for about 5 years, so it's been a little while now. I don't frankly know if there was a shadow study done because it's just an extension off the back. And to the extent that there's any shade, it would just be a slightly more shade in my yard, which I think bluntly my grass would probably appreciate. And so, you know, the pop-up had already existed when we moved in, so there's no like questions about like solar or anything like that. Like that's already been well and done well before I moved in. And so yeah, but I mean, there's no concerns on our end of, you know, the extension is not so far out as to like drastically change the shade in our yard or change how it looks. And like I said, my lawn bakes all year anyway, so you know, it's not a concern to me.
If it's not a concern for you, it's not a concern for me.
Okay. Well, with that, there we go. The process is, we're going through the process. So for Jennifer, mural, this is what it looks like. So this is what I'm hoping we can accomplish next month. So I'm going to complete this motion. All those in favor of the motion before us say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you very much. Mr. King, thank you. I'll be in touch with you tomorrow about next steps regarding this, okay? And I know you probably reach out to me before I reach out to you. That's okay.
I thank everyone for listening. I really appreciate it. Wish everyone a good night.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so 2 more things and we're out of here.
3.
No, we need to start wrapping this up.
Yeah, because
We've got the mayor's office, the council member's office, and then the presentation from Yu Ying.
right. Councilmember Parker, Carlos, are you here?
I'm still here.
Carlos, your updates, is there anything pressing, or can you do it in 20 seconds?
So let's see. Oh, my camera's not on. So I will not repeat some of the information that was shared earlier, especially with thank you to all who shared the public safety stuff from our office in the chat. But I did want to make sure that I did share with you all that the council member is going to be having our next annual Ward 5 budget hearing. It is oversight season, so the council is doing oversight of agencies. So if there are agencies that you have concerns about, if there are issues with agencies that you think need to be improved on, or maybe giving accolades, this is the space for you to join us. It is going to be at the UDC Lamont Riggs campus at 5171 South Dakota Avenue. That's going to be on February the 3rd at 10 a.m. And so that's an opportunity for you to share some of the community priorities that you would like to see in the upcoming budget for the upcoming fiscal year. So please join us for that event. Also, we're very excited that the council members' child tax credit legislation had a hearing today, and we had a great showing of support from residents across the ward and across the city. It was under Councilmember McDuffie's Business and Economics Development Committee. It was a great hearing, and the council member was able to ask questions and engage with residents about how we can enact this legislation. And so if any of you all had submitted testimony or are still interested in submitting testimony, you are able to do that as well until Wednesday, January the 31st at 5 p.m. Please feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in submitting that written testimony. But again, if you have already submitted written testimony, or if you have participated in the hearings live, we do appreciate it, and we thank you for taking some time out of your day and your schedule in supporting the council members' legislation that will help address some of the issues of poverty in our city. That is everything that I have for this evening. That's not repeating from earlier today, so I will turn it back over to the chair.
Carlos, I appreciate you. You did that in 30 seconds. That was great.
Really? That's a record. No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
listen, next month I'm gonna make sure you have more time, but I appreciate you so much. And I want to say, you know, from my position, thank the council member and, you know, the entire office for the hearing today. That child tax credit bill is critical to moving poverty in the city. So, with that being said, I want to turn the floor to Anthony very quickly.
Sorry, Chairman Fletcher, can I ask one I promise, really quick question?
Sure.
Thank you. Carlos, I just wanted to ask real quick. I know that the council member was working on proposing or legislation or supporting legislation. I don't remember which one it was, about mandatory testing of inmates in the DC jails for psychiatric and learning disabilities. I don't know where that's at. I don't know what the status is, and I did make a note I wrote to him about it, but I want to just make it clear that I have a lot of concerns about that. For privacy reasons, for just other reasons. And I know he was in support of that, but I just want to make sure I want to make it publicly noted that I am not necessarily in favor of that, but I'd like to talk with him more to learn more information about it.
And is it legislation that he was considering, you're saying, or was a bill that was already considered?
I believe it was a bill that was being considered that he was supporting.
Okay. If you're able to share with me the name of the bill, I can definitely look into it, and then I can get some more information about it.
I'll have to go back and look at it, but as I said, it's very concerning. So yes, I'll be in touch about that. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Okay, I know Anthony Black, give him a shout out. I know he's stuck with us the whole meeting. Anthony, is anything pressing you have? If not, you know, we can keep it moving.
So just a couple quick things. Good evening, ANC 5A. Again, my name is Anthony Black. I'm your Ward 5 liaison for the mayor's office. Really quickly, the Marion Berry Summer Youth Employment Program is currently open for application. So if you have any children, any teenagers from age 14 to 24, please feel free to sign them up for summer employment. Again, our ward days are Tuesdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So please feel free to reach out if there are any issues or concerns that you need us to address throughout the community. One more quick note. I'm going to schedule a core team walk with our core team members. And core team members are simply MPD, DDOT, DPW, DBH, for us to walk the SMD and pinpoint issues and concerns. So if there are any places that you would like for us to take the core team members to, please feel free to reach out as well. Again, that is it for me on my end. I'm open for any questions.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Chairman Fletcher, there are 2 hands raised.
Yes, I know. I'm just, thank you, Commissioner Lucio. I was making sure somebody knew I was gonna reach out to them in a second. So I see Deb and then Sandy Washington. And I know Deb, you put your question in the chat as well. You have the floor.
Correct.
Was that the question, Deb?
Yeah, that's my question.
Okay, so Anthony, Deb asked a question just about trash. When will the trash be collected? Because it was not collected last week, nor was it collected today.
Ms. Deb, I do know that trash will be collected before the end of the week is out. DPW I'm just telling you what was told to me. DPW is extremely behind right now, but you're more than welcome to reach out to them as well to get that clarification. But what was told to me is that trash should be collected by the end of this week.
Okay. I thought they'd noticed it was back on their regular schedule, but it's overflowing in the alleys. So
Yes, ma'am. I'll flag it again. I'll definitely flag it again. If you just want to give me the location, I can definitely flag it once again. But I was actually told in a meeting today that would DPW be collecting the rest of the
I
trash.
will say recycling was collected today, but none of the
Recycling was?
trash.
Okay.
Recycling was collected.
Okay.
Anthony, I
Sorry
had
for
the same thing. Their recycling was collected, but not their trash.
Okay. I'll do the necessary follow-up.
And I just want to jump in just quick. Trash is being collected on my block right now.
Yeah.
So they are behind, but they just collected my block just right now. A few seconds ago. Just FYI.
Okay, Sandy, you have the floor.
Anthony,
Yes, ma'am.
can you please give me a call back? I've left you several messages. Former Commissioner Washington.
I haven't gotten a message from you lately, Ms. Washington, but I'll definitely give you a call, though.
Well, let me make sure I'm down the right number then,
Yes, ma'am.
because I definitely have been leaving messages.
When was the last time you left a message, Ms. Washington?
Last week, last Thursday.
Looking at my phone now, I don't have any missed messages from you, but no, you can definitely. I'm about to drop my information in the chat, so you can give me a call.
I mean, the voicemail comes on saying it's you, so, but I'll do it again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. All right. Thank you, Anthony, as always. You know, y'all are the hardest working public servants between you and Carlos. Appreciate you. So lastly, and certainly not least, thank you, Liza. As you see, it's spirited. It's we got a lot of things going on in ANC 5A as always. I know that you attended a lot of other ANC meetings, and so I want to give you the floor just to give a brief but necessary update around Washington U Ying's expansion. And I always want to make note for everyone's knowledge and to do away, mitigate conflict of interest. I serve on the board of Washington U Ying. And so any decisions, actions regarding Washington Ying, I will recuse myself from, just for the record. Liza, you have the floor.
How long is the presentation?
Sorry?
5 minutes?
Or less.
Was it submitted in some type of written form? Or is it
No,
only
this
oral?
this is just a brief update. So it's gonna be brief. It's gonna be brief. This is the last thing. Yeah.
I'll be very fast. I wanted to just bring to the commissioner's attention, for any who weren't already aware, that Washington U Ying Public Charter School at 220 Taylor Street went through all the necessary approvals to expand. We will be adding a second campus to the school. We were able to purchase, together with Washington Latin, the former Kirov Ballet Academy, which is just right next door at Harewood and First. And that construction, for anyone who's driven by, they'll notice that construction began in the fall and is scheduled to complete with the start of the school year this September. There's two things we wanted to bring to the commissioner's attention about that, besides the great news about the expansion. We hope that's an asset for the 5A area. One is that the construction was slightly delayed when it began last September. And so we are working on some contingency planning in case the construction is not completed in time for the first day of the school year. We were shopping around all over 5A, looking for possible temporary space to house either students temporarily or staff that may be displaced during the construction process. And I was going to ask you for more ideas and possible locations. The good news is we've had some really great progress on that front with several candidate locations that are less than a mile from our current campus. And so it looks like we are in decent shape for potential contingency space usage, but we will certainly keep you all posted as we know more about our construction schedule and if any additional support is required. The other thing that I think is really important for everyone to be aware of is that we know quite well that Washington U Ying despite being an asset to the community, is also somewhat of a pain around traffic on Taylor Street in morning and afternoon drop-off and pickup times. And we want to make sure to allay any concerns that the expansion, while it is bringing additional students and families into the area, we are being very mindful both about that expansion being slow over the course of grades moving up year by year. The full expansion will not happen all in one fell swoop. Also, we think it may, in fact, shift some of the traffic away from that intersection right at the top of Harewood and Taylor, where a lot of the backup happens, by moving it over towards First Street. And we are going to be working very closely with DDOT and our neighbors in that area to make sure that we are doing everything we can to mitigate parking concerns, traffic flow during those high volume times. And we are very open to talking with every one of you and anyone who would like to be part of those conversations to make sure that our expansion is a benefit to the community and not a headache. So I'll stop for any questions.
I have a question. Hi, Liza. I'm Commissioner Boston. Washington U Ying and Washington Latin. That's actually in my single member district. I live right on First Street. I can look out of my bedroom window and see all of the construction. I'm not sure you able to answer these questions, but I do have questions about the construction schedule, not about how long it takes, but the day-to-day schedule. So what is their schedule? Is it a Monday through Saturday schedule? And then what are the time frames of that construction? Yesterday, construction went on to about 8 o'clock at night. And I know when we do sometimes with other constructions, there are parameters that they're able to work in. So I just want a little bit of clarification of what their schedule is. And then parking, there's been a lot of issues from parking from the construction workers. I'm not sure if they're able to park on the site, but all of the construction workers have been parking on First Street on Uriel Place, and not just their cars, but also like big cement trucks have been parking in front of people's homes. So I'm not sure if I'm directing or if you're the one that can answer those questions, or if you can point me into the right direction.
I can connect you with John Breyer, who is our project manager. He is the one who fields all complaints and concerns about construction schedule, as well as parking of construction vehicles. So I will connect you to immediately following this call. There are some days that we will be expanding to a 6-day work week for schedule acceleration or weather makeups, but they shouldn't, in my opinion, be going till 8 o'clock at night. So let me connect you to John and get those questions answered from the expert.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Boston, give me a call.
Yes, Miss Sadie, I'll give you a call.
Call me. I know John. Give me a call.
All right, thank you.
I have a question for you too, Liza, but also Commissioner Boston, I put in the chat, legal construction hours are Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay, well, that definitely, yesterday I had an SMD meeting, and as we were on our SMD meeting at 8 o'clock, construction was still going on.
Okay, yeah, so those are the legal construction hours. So then that's posted on the website. I just put in the chat. Ms. Douglas, I did want to ask a question. There's a charter school in my single member district, and we've been having a lot of traffic issues with them. And I've talked to other charter and private schools in DC who've had similar issues. And one of the things that some other schools have done is made arrangements for busing of children to reduce the amount of private car traffic. Because I have been inflicted by the traffic in front of your school, both in the morning and in the afternoon on many occasions. And it is very frustrating because if a car is turning left at the top of Taylor Street to go on to Harewood, and you've got a car pickup or drop off line in the right side, no one can get around. And so it is a big issue. And so I'm just wondering what other steps Yu Ying is thinking about taking or looking at taking in terms of addressing that issue. And if you've looked at busing.
Absolutely. We've looked at all the things. One of the challenges with busing is that the way that charter schools have typically been doing busing, to my knowledge, and looking at peer schools, is through parent fees. And so Yu Ying actually has currently at least one bus system and has had up to 3 buses from around the city. But in each case, it's really just kind of pay to play. And so that is not actually improving access for any who can't shell out for the cost on their own of those buses. So we've been looking at how other schools may have been able to actually purchase or budget on their own to provide transportation throughout the city. And of course, those are financial constraints and challenges. Again, I don't want to take a ton of time with this whole group, but I'm happy to talk offline with any of the commissioners about some of the plans we've been looking at, some of the traffic mitigation steps we are putting in place currently and that we intend to put in place with the expansion to the second building beginning in the fall. But we are open to all suggestions. We are open to hearing the neighbors' concerns and ideas about improvements. And I think many of you are aware there's also been some work proposed around adding a bike lane to Taylor Street, which will, I mean, completely transform the traffic flow along Taylor, even regardless of our campus expansion. So we want to make sure that all of that is done sort of thoroughly and holistically, considering the new traffic flows that will be implicated in having 2 new schools on Taylor Street beginning.
Are you working with Grove Slade on your traffic plan?
Grove Slade was the contractor we used for initial traffic studies and planning. I think since then we've been working more directly with DDOT and sort of sharing information. But again, I'm actually not a construction expert. I'm a lowly volunteer member of the board. So I can certainly connect you to the experts on the team as
what
needed.
I'd like to request, Chairman Fletcher, is that we invite the construction team and particularly someone from Grove Slade or someone else who can speak to the traffic study related to this project to come to a future meeting.
John Breyer.
Liza, we could talk about that and we could have them present at either the February or March meeting.
Sure, happy to do it. You know, obviously traffic is one of the things we know that's top priority for all of our neighbors, residents and organizations in the area. So happy to talk about it and really working to make sure that the construction stays on schedule without disrupting people's weekends and evenings. So I wanted to make sure that we were coming directly to you and that you knew that you could come to us or invite us as you have to share more with this group.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, pretty big. Okay, perfect. Liza, thank you for that. And like I said, I'll work with you. So if there are no other further questions, I think we have made it to the end. Again, I want to thank Washington Ying for coming. Liza is an amazing board member and I appreciate her being here. So with that being said, I think we're at the end, so I'll entertain a motion
To adjourn.
All right, everyone, we're adjourned. We made it. Have a safe, wonderful evening, and we'll see you next month. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.